I now am in a space where I'm learning myself because I have had, kids since I was 15. I've been a mom more than half of my life. I have been a wife. I've been a nurse for 14 years. Like, I've been these other things for so long. I don't know who I am and accepting that that's okay, that I don't need to remember, I don't need to like feel bad about it, but like explore it. And I get to make a conscious decision every day. How do I want to show up? What do I want to do? What's the impact that I want to leave on this world?
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible, hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. In today's episode, get ready to be inspired as we dive into the captivating journey of a woman who defied societal norms and embraced resilience to achieve her dreams. From overcoming stereotypes to navigating the challenges of motherhood and career, our guest shares valuable insights and lessons learned along the way. Join us as we explore the power of perseverance, self-discovery, and empowerment. My guest, Taylor Caruthers, is a mother of 5 who conquered the odds, embracing motherhood at 15, determined to graduate and create a better future. She pursued her passion for nursing, climbing the career ladder relentlessly. Through life's trials, Taylor discovered the transformative power of authenticity and healing. With 14 years of nursing experience, she now serves at a renowned reproductive health organization. Taylor's journey creates a safe space for others, enhanced by her expertise in life coaching, breathwork, and theta healing. Her approach emphasizes anti-racism, gender inclusivity, and trauma-informed care. Taylor believes in the beauty of individuality, echoing her mentor's wisdom. People are where they are when they are there. She's ready to meet you where you are, embodying the strength that arises from embracing authenticity. In a world that often molds us, Taylor's story inspires us to celebrate our unique paths. So without any further ado, let's jump into this inspiring conversation with Taylor. I'm here with Miss Taylor Caruthers. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. I appreciate you being here. I feel like you bring this amazing perspective and story to the listeners that I'm excited for you to share. I would love for them to hear more about your experience as a teen mom, as you had your first child that early on. Can you share a little bit about your experience and what you went through and what that was like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Indiana. I was born outside of Gary, but nobody usually knows Gary exists unless you know that's where Michael Jackson is from. But then I, grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago and went to Catholic school. And there was nothing about my life or my upbringing, my parents that would even make you think that I was in the trajectory to become a teen mom. So I have basically been defying odds and changing stereotypes since I was a child, whether they were good or bad. But, there's, like, a certain type of kid that's, like, always in trouble or like, there's this certain type of kid that you're like, "Oh, yeah, she's gonna end up pregnant." Like, that wasn't me. I was very good in school and very, good grades, honors classes, and I had an addiction to boys that I did not really have a safe space to speak about. and I was not supposed to date like most kids, especially kids of color. The rule is kinda 16, and this one had a child at 15, and I turned 16 a month later. So, very unexpected, not a part of my plan. I like I said, with being an athlete and a kid that's just generally good in school, college, career, like, all this stuff is lined up in front of me, so it's kinda like, "Okay, shoot, what now?" I tried to hide my pregnancy because that's what you do when you're 15. You think if you ignore it, it'll go away. Guess what? It doesn't. It's definitely my mom and my stepdad are, like, amazing, and just, what do you do with somebody like me who's very strong, very smart, and just, like, couldn't get it together? So, I ended up going to live with my dad and my stepmom, and we don't really say step in my family, so my second mom and my second dad, but I ended up finishing high school in New York, and I was the only one both in Illinois and in New York. Like, I didn't have any friends that had kids, so it was very, isolating. I didn't really know. Thankfully, this was in 2002, so I didn't have to go to, like, a special place. I know back a little bit farther back in the day, you see it sent away to, like, a special school and you couldn't be around. So, thankfully, because of, like, the strength and love and support of my family, I, graduated high school on time. I got accepted to college, but it was not easy by a long shot. Like, it was not like, "Oh, give us the baby. We're gonna pretend like the baby's ours." They were like, "No, you had a baby. You're gonna take care of your daughter, and when she wakes up in the middle of the night, you're gonna get up with her, and you're gonna get her ready to go to daycare, and you're gonna go to school." Like, not going to school was not an option. Not finishing and graduating high school was not an option. So, nothing really changed, except everything changed. I was not automatically granted adulthood because I had a kid. I was a kid with the kid trying to, like, figure life out, and, at 15, and, like, now I'm 37 today, and I'm just like, "Am I ready to be a parent?" But it's kinda like 21 years too late. But I totally get the thought process when people are actually planning a family and thinking like, "How can I be ready? What's the right amount to save? What do I need to have done?" You just figure it out,
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
I am nothing more than, like, proof of 1000% figuring it out.
I love that. Yes, exactly. And it's something that I think is a very powerful message to put out there for so many who, not that way anyone ever wants to necessarily encourage, the young teenage thing, but it's a reality that we need to be open to talk about. And one thing I like about you, what you shared that I feel like is very crucial to a lot of moms out there is you said you didn't feel like you had a safe space to share about your addiction to guys and to talk to that's your parents. I think that it's something so important as parents is that we can allow our kids to feel like they can share stuff with us. Because if they don't understand it, it's so easy to be influenced. Where I kind of am similar, like I may not have gotten pregnant, but I lost my virginity when I was 13 years old. So I was very young when I was became sexually active, but I never had, I mean, although I had a mom that I could kind of talk to, it's like, it wasn't in the way of like structured to teach me about the dangers and loving myself and knowing my worth and waiting and things like that. But I love the fact that you're proof that it's like it's okay because anyone who sits there and thinks that okay, I'll get pregnant when this and this and this happens. It's not going to happen. It's meant for you to just figure it out as you go. That's actually the beauty of it. So tell us a little bit about, you got through school and things like that as a mom, as a young adult. Like, what was it like after that, as far as like growing your life and finding, your work life and incorporating that?
It was challenging. Originally, when I was a little girl, I had gotten into, like, radio and speech and all types of things, and I really, really, enjoyed journalism, and I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, and I'm like, "Okay, let's do this," because I did, again, I even with having a child, I continued to do well in school, continued to excel in things that I put my mind to, and it was really interesting when I started college for journalism. I'm like, "Alright, cool," and then the more I learned, I was like, "Oh, this life isn't actually conducive to, like, having kids," and this whole kind of being on, demand to try to get the first story and possibly having to go out at, like, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I, again, not having, like, a mentor or somebody to really talk to, I kinda just gave up on that dream and was like, "You know what? I don't wanna have to spend my life trying to," because I couldn't just be on, like, the local news because 'cause I'm extra, so I wanted to be on, like, CNN. I need to be, like, primetime news, so
Right.
I knew I wasn't gonna be content being, like, a local news person, and I'm like, "Alright, well, what else can you do?" So, I started my grandmother's a nurse, she's been a nurse my whole life, and I started to kind of, like, say, "Well, okay, what could that look like?" So, the community college that I was at, I, went to them and said, "Hey, I wanna be an RN," and they're like, "Okay, cool, that's gonna take you 4 years," and I was like, "What? That doesn't make sense, like, it's a 2-year degree, what do you mean it's gonna" they're like, "Oh, by the time you do your prereqs and all this stuff," so I'm like, "Screw this," so I left school because 'cause I'm like, "That's not what I'm signing up for, it's a 2-year college, you're telling me for I don't have time for that." So, I actually ended up seeking out, of course, I was working, and I actually ended up seeking out LPN, which on the East Coast, it's LPN, on the West Coast, it's LVN. So I was seeking out LVN programs as a means to get into the RN program quicker because if I can figure it out, then I'm gonna figure it out. That's just always me. So I ended up doing that, and by this time, I had basically continued to, like, be what they would call a statistic. I had my 2nd daughter at 19, I had my son at 21, and I was actually pregnant. I found out I was pregnant with him, and when I graduated nursing school, I was like I'd graduated nursing school in June, he was born in August, so I was in clinicals, pregnant, like, getting through nursing school. Anybody that knows anything about nursing school knows that it is hell, but I did it, like, I was like, I'm in now. It was hard enough to get in. I'm in, and it's like, a couple other ladies ended up pregnant. Some people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna drop out and come back." And I'm like, I can't, like, that's not an option for me. So I ended up completing school, and I was terrified to take my boards. My son was born in August, so I know I was just sharing with you, that's when I went back to work 9 days after giving birth because I had to work. Like, he was born in 2008, I'm so glad that the laws have changed, but they didn't have, the paid family leave and all this stuff, like, that you can actually truly take time away for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, and my bills did not care that I just had a child, so I went right back to work, and I ended up, funny enough, getting a job. I took my boards the following year, and I ended up getting a job in healthcare as a scheduling coordinator, and I was making, like, nurse money, and I was like, "Okay," this was in home care. I'm like, "Well, what can this be like?" And funny part about me is my grandmother that is a nurse owns a home care agency, so I've been around home care since I was, like, 8 years old. I remember making admission packets, like, to make 20 bucks on the weekends, and so I ended up in home care, so it was like this funny synchronistic thing that I never thought anything about, and everybody's like, "Oh, when are you gonna go, like, work as a nurse?" In New York, you as an LPN, you really can't do a lot. You're not gonna really get a job in a hospital. The scope of practice is, like, so limited, so I'm like, "Why am I gonna go work in a nursing home and do, like, these crazy 7 to 3, 3 to 11 shifts?" And I got a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, weekends off, benefits. I was like, "I'm gonna stay here and see what this is like."
Yeah.
So in that job, I learned, the ins and outs, literally could tell you the number of the regulation of home care. I've always been an exceller, so I worked my way up, and before I left, I had made it to assistant director. I wasn't even, like, 25 at the time, but I had made it all the way up, and I could do every job within my scope without it being an RN needing to be a signature. I could do every single thing from running that agency to getting on the phone and covering shifts to talking to people's families to, like, training, orientation. I was a person that would literally take the handbook home and look at, okay, who's my supervisor? What do they need? What did they have to do and what did they have to know to get that role? And I would talk to them openly and say, I want more. I would master that current job and like, okay, I want the next title. I want to make that next salary. I want that next jump. And yeah, half of my career is home care. The other half is reproductive health care. And I've been in management now since like 2014 or 2015. And not only balancing, being a mom, a wife, and just being a young woman of color in these workplaces where I'm like literally under 30 and half my staff are like old enough to be my mom. So there was always some different power dynamics in play that I just didn't even realize. I just knew I had some horrible bosses, like, don't be like that. Talk to people like you want to be spoken to, treat people like you want to be treated, and the rest we can figure out. So it definitely, my husband used to always call me a paperwork nurse, and I'm like, that's fine. I have no problem with that because there's so much flexibility in the nursing field. So I'm a nurse that has actually never worked full time as a nurse. I have dabbled and I've seen patients and I love, seeing patients. But I also have like this because of the way my mind works. I enjoy, the strategy. I enjoy impacting on a bigger level. Like there's something really special about being able to sit there and hold hands, with a patient and get them through what might be the most difficult time. But I also like being able to jump back to the table and fight and advocate because I know what it feels like. So it puts me in a really unique position as a manager. When I'm advocating, I'm like, no, I know what it feels like. When's the last time you saw a patient? Oh, okay. I'll wait.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Attention, hardworking moms. Are you ready to kickstart your journey to a thriving online business? Introducing Learn and Earn Profits Online Max, a groundbreaking digital resale course that's revolutionizing success. Learn how to create your own funnel and sell this exact course, pocketing a whopping 100% of the profits. Yes, you heard that right, 100% yours. Lipo Max is an enhanced platform packed with incredible modules and valuable insights designed to elevate your online business game. Don't miss this chance to join a supportive community where hard work meets exceptional opportunities. Say goodbye to the hassle of creating courses from scratch. Lipo Max does the heavy lifting for you, empowering you to learn and earn in an environment tailored for your success. Act fast and secure your spot in this game-changing program and set yourself up for a prosperous life. Join the Lipo Max community today. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more or contact me today with any questions. You're incredible, Taylor. I mean, you're such a driven person and you're unstoppable. Like, look at you. You are proof that it doesn't matter what obstacles or what challenges or what unexpected events happen in your life, and you really are determined and want something done, you can make it happen. And I love how driven you are with that. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm curious. You said that there was a time you had a dream about being a journalist and kind of doing the news things. Like, has that dream been something that maybe has even incorporated in you enjoying kind of what you do now, as far as like that in between of getting that real life experience while also doing the background and making a difference? Do you ever think about that any at all?
I would say I think about it in the way I've been able to use that knowledge,
Mhm.
that I did learn. I've always been a writer, like, writing has been I got published when I was in, like, middle school. Writing has always been, like, my strong suit of, like, I was in I'm really, really I suck at math. So, like, for example, I was in AP Literature and Comp, and I was in a grade under me, regular math. Like, don't talk to me about math ever. So, writing is super, super fun for me. It's super therapeutic, and the way that I get to use that now is, like, as I'm a new entrepreneur, I get to write my own copy. I do have somebody look at it,
Mhm.
but I write my own copy, so I don't have to hire somebody for it. I have recorded commercials for my employer when we were launching an event. Those memories of 7 years ago, which feels like, wow, I can't believe it's been that long, but
Oh,
I have so many different voices. Like, my family would straight up, like, hang up the phone when I would call them from work because I would get on with, like, my work voice, and they were like, "I thought you were a bill collector," and I'm like, "God, it's me." So, it has shown up in, I am in a training department now, so being able to kind of tailor how how my tone comes across, knowing, my tone, my diction, and the things that I learned always stayed with me. So, doing a podcast, I like this is like no shade, but like some people just don't sound good. And I'm not like a super fan of my voice, but everybody's like, "Oh my god, your voice, like what voice is that?" I have a voice when I do guided meditations. I have a different voice for different things. So, it's fun for me to play around with and learning how to communicate, but the writing piece of that journalism is always just gonna be a part of me, like,
Mhm.
understanding, like, "Wait, who's my audience? How do you wanna sound?" So when ChatGPT came out and everybody's freaking out, I'm a beast on ChatGPT because I'm like, it makes everything when I get stuck when I'm writing, I
Yeah.
have it give me a I'll feed it what I wrote. My GPT sound better than me sometimes. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I like how you said that."
Oh,
So I
yeah.
use it as a tool, but so it's like if the opportunity, ever came around, I'm not shy, which well, I am, but I'm not. So it's like I'm the most introverted extrovert you'll ever meet. So I definitely say I get to use it and tap on it, but like
Mm.
those dreams of literally being on the news, like kudos to them because I stopped watching the news so many years ago. There's just like the world is crazy. So
Mm.
to not
Be
even think
part of
about being back involved in that because I literally don't even consume the news anymore.
Mhm.
I just have so
Mhm.
much respect,
Yeah.
for them, and I've had some friends that have been newscasters, and I remember when one of them, like, wore her natural hair for the first time on air and, like, all the things that, we've had to go through as people of color to be accepted in that world. It's like I'm so much in a different place in my own fight that, like, trying to make that kind of a switch at this point, probably not, but I would absolutely if Tony Robbins wanted to interview me, I'm hopping up on stage,
I
no
love the
problem.
Tony Robbins. Yes, yes. No, I love it. Honestly, that actually goes to show sometimes, like, because, for instance, me, I used to dream of being an actress, for instance, growing up. And now I look at so many actors and stuff, and I'm like, thank you God that my direction of that way didn't go like I wanted it to, and that you actually helped me to be able to still utilize part of that dream within me to now come together and share. I get to be me, like for instance, with this. I get to show up as me. I get to really inspire, make a difference. I don't have to put on a show. I don't have to try to be somebody I'm not. Like I genuinely get to be me, and it's even better than I ever imagined. And I know that in the long run, where I'm going, with you, it's going to be so much better than if we had initially gotten what we thought we wanted. And I think that's something important to understand, that it's like sometimes in life, certain things don't really always play out as we want it to or expect it to, but that's because there's something more important,
Aligned.
something better
Yeah,
and aligned with who you really are. That's what you just got to explore it. And had you not given the chances like you had on other things, you wouldn't have known, and I think that's great.
100%.
So if there's someone out there right now who's just, kind of on the fence about like who they are, where they're at in life, like what kind of advice would you give them as a mom who just feels like they're just, and maybe they're too busy, not, they don't know what to do. What advice would you give them?
Honestly, there's so much advice I would give. I posted this question on social media and said, "What advice would you give yourself, 10 year ago you?" And mine that I posted to answer my own question would be to listen more. I definitely listened, but I was listening to respond, not understand. 95% of the time. I am an action go-getter, like hustle, all of that. That is me to my core. So I now am in a space where I'm learning myself because I have had, kids since I was 15. I've been a mom more than half of my life. I have been a wife. I've been a nurse for 14 years. Like I've been these other things for so long. I don't know who I am and accepting that that's okay, that I don't need to remember, I don't need to like feel bad about it, but like explore it. And I get to make a conscious decision every day. How do I want to show up? What do I want to do? What's the impact that I want to leave on this world? How do I react to people? I can't control anything else. And I am a control freak, but like I can't actually control anybody else, but I can control how I respond. I can control what I internalize. So I would invite people to really, whatever their pleasure is, explore that pleasure. If it's art, if it's singing, if it is acting, if it is journalism, explore it. You can still, pay your bills and do whatever your job is until you figure out a way to make that profitable. If that's what you decide you wanna do, you might get in there and start writing every day and be like, "Oh, I hate this." Um,
Yeah.
so it's okay to change your mind. Listen, I don't know, how many blessings I have potentially blocked in my life because I was so locked and loaded on a particular goal. If I wanted it, I was going to have it come hell or high water. There was nothing getting in the way. Taylor is getting what she wants 99.999% of the time. Who knows where I could be or where I would have been, but instead of beating myself up about how I used to be, I'm embracing how I am today, and I'm more in flow. I am open to experiences. I'm at least open to try things mostly as long as they're safe because I'm a Virgo, so I have to, like, analyze everything. But I would say just being open to experience, and I have really been working hard to remove should, could, and would out of my vocabulary because I am right where I'm supposed to be divinely in this moment in time, and I don't have to know why. I don't have to know everything, and that's okay. So, putting my best foot forward in any interaction and, feeling good about how I lived my life that day, because today is all we have. I love to make all my future plans, but tomorrow's not promised to anybody, so what can I do but do my best right now in this moment? And I say that with love because I know it's kind of like it's one of those double-edged statements of like, yeah, if you want to start a business, yes, you have to have a plan, but what are you doing today? What are you doing for the first 2 hours when you start your day to make your 3, 5, 7, 10-year plan possible? So
Yeah.
really, focusing on getting present, getting quiet, listening, trying to understand, and if it doesn't make sense, that's okay, it will one day.
Absolutely, and I love it. I think that's incredible, and you know what? For listeners out there, like, that is also an example as far as, like, we actually had originally tried to do this a while back, and and Taylor, you were sick, and I remember, like, how it was so awesome because she was so true. She tried, she was determined, she wanted to show up. You wanted to show up and be there, and I was like, "Girl, it's okay. You don't have to." And I was so proud of her because she was like, "You know what? I'm working on this. I wanna be more true to myself, take care of myself." And it was such a great moment, and I feel like this is exactly part of that divine, alignment because we were meant to meet tonight instead. We were meant to do this. We were meant to have that moment of like, okay, right now it's just not feeling right. It's not a good time. You physically were not in a blessed place. You need to listen to your body and listen to your health. So I think this is your statement. It's just such truth and it's so important and so true. And it's exactly what I do with a lot of moms with working with me. It's because it is so easy to get lost and the stuff when you're a mom because it's all about your kids, it's all about your husband, it's all about being an employee. It's about everybody but yourself. And then it's like and it's easy to kind of do that because we're such, bosses with taking care of this,
It's
this and
comfortable
that.
there.
It is. It is. It's like you don't have to think about your stuff. You don't have to kind of think about how this goes. It's
I
like,
could
oh,
fix
okay,
everybody else's
yeah,
problems, and I
yep.
don't have to worry about mine.
Exactly. And so it's so amazing and brave when we get to the point that we realize, you know what? We matter too. What we what matters too. We deserve to have happiness. We deserve to, enjoy ourselves. I used to feel so guilty just to watch an episode and have a glass of wine. And I feel like, okay, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. No, that's ridiculous. you
You
know?
wouldn't even believe, like, I was an all-star cheer mom. And
Hmm.
I always have to specify and say all-star cheer because it was a job, and I miss it, so I'm not hating on all-star cheer. But I was working full-time, running a household, working to pay for that, literally fundraising because I looked at the bill one year, it was like $10,000. Like, all-star cheer is, like, one of the most expensive sports on the planet.
Wow.
Um on top of, their practices, like, I ended up organizing a spreadsheet for carpooling because, like, it was that deep, and at one season, I had all 5 of my children, including my son, in all-star cheer, and, like, nobody does that. Nobody does that, and I'm over here telling my kids, they're like, "Mommy, can I get a private lesson? You better get your tumbling skills in that tumbling class that I'm already paying for because I can't afford to pay $1 a minute for that coach to tumble you, but I can't tumble you either, and I don't want you to do it the wrong way." So, like, giving my kids, like, all the and I again, like I said, I grew up very well. Like, I don't have that I didn't come from, like, not having anything per se, so all I knew was to continue that and give that to my kids, so they've traveled, they have competed on some of the biggest stages. I have a kid that actually won Summit a couple years ago, and that's, like, the Super Bowl of cheer. It's Summit, and then there's World. And then we were like one of the few we might be the only gym in New York, don't quote me because I know cheer is big in your area, so somebody gonna know. But we were one of the if not the only gym to even have that title, so, like, I'm always like, my kid we could never do anything, like, normal. We had to do it big. We had to
Yeah.
be at the best gym that's, the name, like, it
Mhm.
just craziness that it kept us busy. It gave my kids experiences and, I stopped focusing so much on Christmas Day and that morning and making sure there's a bajillion gifts because I'm like, can we like take a trip or do something that the kids are gonna remember and not me go, I was a professional Black Friday shopper for a minute and I started to get like I started to see, by 1, 2 o'clock, everybody hungry and the toys half broke, and you like, what did I just spend all this amount of money and my
Mhm.
son, not to call him out, but
Mhm.
as they get older, they get more expensive.
Oh
And
god.
my kids are good kids. And I don't say that just because I'm their mom, but like they're really like I'm super proud that I raised like some decent humans to be in this world. But when
Right.
they get older, when it's like I want a PS3, 4, now I think we're on PS5, that's one gift is $500. Like,
Mhm.
"Sir, you're not gonna have 15 items under the tree this year because your one gift I can't get from Five Below. So, this is what we're gonna do." So, like and that's where a lot of my, resilience comes in of, like, my kids can never, they never, thank God, had to go hungry. There were definitely times that I was on public assistance, and there were times that I made like $5 too much. And I'm like, okay. And then I felt what it was like to be in the working poor, where you made enough money to not qualify for any type of help and still not enough money to actually live comfortably. So, me having 2 and 3 jobs, my husband working multiple jobs was not uncommon. So now I know, like we were talking about being able to work from home, those options weren't available, and they're only available because of COVID. Like, the world literally had to experience a freaking global pandemic because now how many more people can have gainful employment that might be disabled? Childcare, I could not imagine having childcare. Childcare was expensive, like, my youngest is 12 now, but childcare was expensive then. I thankfully always had family to, like, help that I could pay a much less rate than $600 a week. But I see, like, when you're making the decision to have kids, somebody gotta stay home unless y'all both bringing in 6 figures, like, you just can't make it work any other way, like, it's so astronomical, but something does happen when you get pregnant, when you bring a child into this world, something flips in your
Mhm.
primal nature that you just figure it out. Y'all might all be up in a two-bedroom apartment, but everybody got a roof over their head, like, you figure it out, and I don't know how to, like, explain what that feels like, but because I've operated in that, it's harder. My journey to my healing, my journey in coaching and entrepreneurship and working on me has been really challenging because I'm wired that way. I'm wired to anticipate, the worst possible case scenario. I'm wired to look at, I was very distrusting of everything because what's your main thing as a mom? Protect your kids. Like, so it has been such an adjustment the last few years of being able to really, my kids are a little bit older, they can make, somewhat decent decisions, but really focusing internally on me and how and why I do the things that I do, because everything about me served me super well until it didn't. And you can only run that way for so long. And that's what thrust me into this, like, I'm talking about it now because nobody talks about it, and I was freaking dying, but I looked like I had everything together on the outside. Nobody would ever think that anything was wrong because that I didn't want my kids to see me crying in the corner. I saw crying as a sign of weakness,
Yeah.
and it's so not. I
Yeah.
didn't, I wasn't vulnerable. I wasn't talking about my feelings with my kids. I felt like I just needed to be available to handle theirs, but the more that I've gotten emotionally vulnerable, the more my kids have. Like, I see the changes in them based on the work I'm doing myself, like creating a safe space for my kids to be able to come home and say, "Mommy, I don't know why I don't feel great today." And for me to say, "That's okay. Do you wanna talk about it?" And acknowledging them as humans for their feelings now so they don't have to grow up in a world of like, suck it up and show up. No. If
Yeah.
they are feeling off, not saying they can just like stay home from school. We don't play those games. But
Yeah.
having that safe space at home is vital,
Yeah.
and encouraging and fostering so that the next generation, doesn't jack up, thank God for neuroplasticity, but like, so they don't jack up their nervous system. I'm wired for chaos. I am wired to
Mhm.
fix it. I'm wired like that. So rewiring that is like literally my book on my Dr. Joe Dispenza, like unlearning how to be yourself, like
Mhm.
rewiring yourself,
Yep.
because it was great until it wasn't. So now giving myself that grace, that example, like that real life example of I showed up because that's what I know what to do. And I'm sure you can see the difference because y'all are listening, but we're on camera, so you can
Mhm.
see I look different. I was done that day, but all I know is to show up. I didn't have enough courage to even like message and say, "Hey, I think," and I'm like, "Okay, just push through." And I've been pushing through my whole life and to like start learning how to give myself that space and grace and be honored because you absolutely honored me. And you're like, "Oh my gosh, like yeah, I sounded like crap. Like it was a crap day. I was sick."
Yeah.
And to not even feel comfortable and confident, even to this moment, like it was still a work. We talked about it. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
"Are you sure? Are you sure?" You're like, "Yes, absolutely. Like just reschedule whenever. Like it's okay." And everything to me is like once I've given my word, I feel like that's what I have. Is like I have to be a person of my word. I said I was gonna be there. I booked this appointment. I gotta do it. So learning that like, no, I don't. And communication, yes, is vital, but I could have sent a message, I could have sent an email, but like getting into that place where we're forgiving to ourselves as mothers, as forgiving as we are to our children. We don't freak out. Well, if you're a clean freak OCD like me, you will. But like you don't freak out when your kid spills something or breaks something. You're like, what? They're a kid. It happens. We gotta be the
Yeah.
do the same thing with ourselves.
Absolutely, because you wanna give them that safe place for them to feel like it's okay, because then you don't want them to grow up also to have those same tendencies that were conditioned in us, because that happens at a young age. This stuff right here that happens to you it was put in you when you were a young kid a lot of times, and we don't even realize it, and it's hard, and God, you're so much like me, Taylor, with that because I'm the kind of person like I think it stems from this fear of like disappointing people. And what are they going to think of me? And what am I? How am I going to be judged if I don't show up, if I don't keep my word? Because that's all we know. Because we're like that. We're that person. Like you're true to your word. And when I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. They call me. They used to call me a time Nazi because I'm like anal about being early. Like because it's just how I've always been wired. And so you know what? I love it. I love where you're at in your life right now. I'm so excited for you because you're so real, you're so authentic, and you are going to improve. This is a lifelong journey. Like you're not gonna just wake up one day and just have all the answers and just get it right. We're humans. Like it happens. This is why it's so great to connect with women like you and for us to stay connected with each other and help support one another along this journey. And what you're gonna do is as you learn, as you grow, you're gonna be able to give back to those women that you help in your business. Yeah, you because you resonate with them. You understand. I've been there. I get you and you're going to bring such inspiration to them and such guidance that they need. So
You could
I,
not tell me that I wasn't gonna get all the gold stars in healing and that I wasn't gonna get a check in the box. I'm like, "Nope, I'm doing
yeah.
therapy, I'm doing all of the things. I'm doing somatic work, I'm doing talk therapy, I'm doing it all. I'm going
Oh,
back to church. I got
uh,
baptized last year for the first time in my life."
oh
Like,
my goodness.
I was, like, going hard on healing because, again, going hard and nonstop is all I knew, and I have everything that I offer today, like, and mind you, I still have a full-time job, so, like, this is how ridiculous I am. I have learned and gotten certified in the past year. Like, I couldn't just experience breath work. I had to go get trained in it so I could bring it to other people. I couldn't just experience theta healing. I couldn't just experience Reiki. I'll be a Reiki master in a few months. Like, who does that? Taylor. Like,
Taylor.
I wasn't giving myself time. There was a period, thank God my job honors Juneteenth, but from Memorial Day to Juneteenth, I literally didn't have a day off because I saw my weekends as time to dive deep, sign up for another course, do this, do that. I am a person that has had to, and I do, it's still on my calendar. I have blocks of time that say do nothing on my calendar because if I don't, I will book something. And that has allowed, the capacity for when a girlfriend calls and says, "Hey, you want to grab lunch? You want to hang out and watch a movie?" Like prioritizing my rest, true rest, not reading another book, finishing another assignment, just laying, doing nothing, quiet time is just as important as every certificate, every accomplishment, every degree, like whatever you're doing, you need to do just as much, if not more, for yourself. And I felt really, really guilty when I would take time and just watch Netflix and be like, "Imma watch some trash TV for a little bit," like, that's just what I'm gonna do. I felt so guilty, and I had to work through that, so, like, knowing, honoring that I am a work in progress, and that's all good, like, that is okay. I was looking for you know, this external validation, and I had to start giving it to myself, like, my boss gave me some amazing feedback, and instead of me being super quick to be like, "Oh my god, you're amazing too," I just sat there for the first time in my career and literally put my hands on my heart and just took it in and said, "Wow, thank you. I did not expect that. I'm so honored. Like, thank you so much." But just like, I know I do a good job. That's why they hired me. That's why I do what I do. So it's like and it's still weird for me to accept a compliment, a genuine of my boss is like, "Dude, I'm so impressed. That was amazing. You pulled, the sky out of the sky and put it back." I'm like, "I know." And to me, it's just like it's just another day at the office. But I had to learn, and I'm still learning how to when someone says, "Hey, how are you?" from the East Coast, I'm like, "I'm good. How are you?" Boom, boom, boom. On the West Coast, I'm like, "I don't know if it's the vitamin D and the sunlight," but people are like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." And they're like, "No, how are you?" And I'm like, "Well," and they really care. And it's you're a little more south, so there's definitely
Mhm.
like when I would go from New York to Florida, I'd be like, "Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
god, people are
Yeah.
so nice down here." And I'm like,
I know.
"Why? What do they want?" And now being on the West Coast, I'm, like, becoming that person where I can see it in their face, I feel their energy, and I'm like, "If there's something you wanna talk about, I'm here." And just leaving that door open, so, like, I'm doing my part to just facilitate the conversation and make people not feel alone because it's real lonely. You might have a bunch of kids, but it's so lonely.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing because of that right there. I was so alone on so much of my journey, especially on like as a woman. I feel like it's wonderful. We have great husbands. Some of us don't. There's women out there who are single, but for you, even if you do have a husband who's amazing, who's there for you, there's just something about that woman connection that we just crave. I
I
mean,
feared it.
yeah, I mean, yeah, because I felt like I got let down, backstabbed,
Mhm.
betrayed by so many people who I thought was going to be my friend and be there, and they just like turned their back to me when they no longer needed me, and it was hurtful. It was hard. I've realized with me, my initial core fear is rejection. That's always been what drove me because of my dad abandoning me. That's where it initially started. So I've learned all that about myself, and I'm
Yep.
working to as well. Always working to reprogram and be like, you know what? that was my path. I am who I am. I'm gonna keep working. I'm gonna keep reframing, and I love the stuff that I've learned. And I feel like what you're talking about too, about accepting compliment things is like, we gotta learn to receive. We don't allow ourselves to just receive. And when we do when we do learn to tap into that and learn how to really receive, whether it be compliments or wealth or happiness, things really start happening for us. And so, yes,
So
I mean,
much.
yeah, it does. It truly does. And I'm just so I'm touched by your story. I'm touched by your perspective. And I love that you're on this incredible journey. And I really do want to hear more about it down the road because you're definitely going places and you're going to really be able to give back and help so many others. Is there any other advice or tips out there for people who are just struggling, feeling alone, feeling kind of hopeless in life that you want to, share?
Sure. I actually just kind of posted this on my social media right before we were getting on this call. I wrote a post to just invite, whoever reads it. Like if you're reading it, I believe the universe and God work through algorithms too. So that's my personal belief. But I invite them to basically, close their eyes, take a few deep breaths, and feel where you're feeling any tension or resistance in your body, and recognize that and breathe love and compassion into those areas. For me, it's always my neck, my shoulders, like this tension that I just carry. And we don't realize how much trauma we carry in our bodies. And I thought I was a person. I'm like, oh, I didn't go through this, and that as a kid. So I was like, I don't have trauma. Yeah, you do. We have trauma. Watching the news is trauma, like we were talking
Mhm.
about earlier. Like
Mhm.
there's big T trauma, there's little t
Mhm.
trauma. So really starting, I offer that as a suggestion and that quick little social media post, because when's the last time you did that? And I'm not talking to moms, I'm not talking to dads, I'm not talking to nurses, I'm talking to you, whoever you are. When is the last time you closed your eyes and took a few deep breaths for 60 seconds and said some things to yourself like, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of peace. I'm worthy of joy. When have you thought about you? So, yeah, I have a little list of affirmations. I kind of change them and tweak them. I say whatever comes to my mind. People are like, oh, I'm too busy. I don't have time.
Oh,
Somebody had a post up that said, how do you incorporate it? I said, well, do you brush your teeth every day? They were like, yeah. Say it while you're brushing your teeth.
mhm.
Incorporate it with something you already do. Do you wash your hair every other day? All right, cool. Let's start there. Start somewhere.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you don't necessarily. I'm, of course, I am a coach as well, so I'm not going to say like you don't need a
yeah.
coach. But
No,
if you
yeah.
want a coach, get a coach.
Mm,
If you don't, that's fine. Start somewhere, but
yeah.
start prioritizing yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself a safe. Talk to yourself. I heard this, and this resonated so deeply. Talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. You wouldn't say half the crap that you say about yourself to your best friend or anybody else for that matter.
Mhm.
Start talking to yourself a little bit better.
Mhm.
So yeah, just start somewhere, pick something. You don't have to be like me and go get certified in advanced blah 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 and all these things. There's a lot of us, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to create diversity. I want people to see me and hear like, "Oh, breath work? Oh, she looks like me. Maybe I'll try it." Healing does not have to look like, this super rich white identified lady on a beach. Healing should be accessible, coaching should be accessible. You don't need a certain lifestyle to work and heal and work with someone that has walked the path before you. So really just encouraging people to like open their minds and think about it. When I was climbing through my career, nobody said get a career coach. Nobody talked to me about it. I probably could have benefited from a career coach for
Oh,
a long
yeah.
time. And I didn't even think it was an option for me. So when it
Mm,
comes to coaching, there's a coach for every niche you could possibly think of.
yeah.
Podcasts are great if you live in an area that has high traffic. I kill 2 birds with 1 stone because 'cause I'm still getting to my destination, but I listen to books and I listen to podcasts. Like, start
Mhm.
paying attention to doing something to actually feed your soul in the middle of what you're already doing.
Absolutely. And that's so true. Because even in the mornings, like when I'm getting my coffee together, whatnot, I have even on YouTube, there's so many free affirmations that you can just play and just to clear as you're literally
Play
getting your
them when
day
you go to
ready.
sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yes, thoughts that
Your
you
subconscious is
yeah.
running your life
Make
anyway, mine
Yeah,
as
get your
well.
phone up and put a little affirmation there and just speak it every day. You go to the bathroom, do midday, your lunch break, go to the bathroom and just speak it. Just speak it. I mean,
Literally.
there's always time that you can make for yourself and for things that can make a difference for your life. So, before we end up here, Taylor, tell the audience a little bit about how they can find you if they wanted to come and learn more about you and about how they could work with you.
I am literally everywhere because I'm a Virgo. I also dabble in astrology and human design, like all of the things, but I am on Facebook as myself, Taylor A. Caruthers. The name of my company is Metanoia Innovative Solutions. I know some people struggle with metanoia, but the word actually means transformative change of heart. And that is the experience that I aim to give folks when I work with them. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Alignable,
Okay. Well,
everywhere.
we'll make sure to have all your stuff too in the show notes as well. So again, Taylor, thank you so much for your time and for being here and sharing all of this incredible stuff with us today. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you for having this platform. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Wow, Taylor sure has quite the story, and I'm so glad she shared all she did with us on the show. Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Just like Taylor, you may have faced stereotypes or unexpected challenges in your life. Remember that you have the power to defy odds and continue striving for your goals, no matter what society expects of you. If you can relate to the struggles of balancing responsibilities and facing isolation during difficult times, take inspiration from Taylor's journey of perseverance and seek support from loved ones. You might have experienced shifts in your career path or unexpected opportunities. Stay open to new possibilities and embrace change as you pursue your professional goals. Balancing various roles and navigating workplace dynamics can be challenging. Strive to find harmony between your personal and professional life. Despite facing setbacks, Taylor emphasizes the importance of resilience, self-discovery, and self-compassion. Reflect on your own journey and recognize the strength within you to overcome obstacles and grow from your experiences. Whether it's for yourself or others, prioritize creating safe spaces where vulnerability is emphasized and support is readily available. Remember to prioritize self-care and personal growth. Life is full of uncertainties, but it's also an opportunity for growth and learning. Be open to change, embrace uncertainty, and learn from your past experiences as you continue to evolve personally and professionally. Just as Taylor and I hope to inspire and support women through our journey, consider how you can empower those around you, whether it's through mentorship, encouragement, or simply sharing your own experiences. Your story has the potential to uplift and motivate others on their own path to fulfillment. You can find out more about Taylor by visiting her at toniainnovativesolutions.com or following her on Facebook or Instagram. Links will be in the show notes. Be sure to share this episode with anyone you feel would benefit from listening. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in with me each week. Please be sure to leave me a review or a 5-star rating on Spotify if you feel that this is bringing you value. Your feedback is much appreciated. If you want to learn more about how I can support you on your journey, I help mom entrepreneurs get the guidance and genuine support you deserve as you take action towards creating the successful business and life you desire. I am opening enrollment for one-on-one at this time. Your first session is free, so contact me today to get that jump start and the motivation you need to push through the obstacles and challenges and work towards the goals you set. Let us, radiant moms, continue to rise and live life to the fullest. Until next time, much love.